Alright, Shalom, Shalom, Israel. First and foremost, I want to give all honor and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, by Shema Mashiach Marak Yahushua. Yahweh is the name of the Heavenly Father, which the world calls God, and Yahushua is the name of His only begotten Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. First and foremost, I want to give a strong Shalom to all the mighty men. They're going out there, they're laboring. They're presenting their bodies as a living sacrifice. They're doing all they can to wake up the lost sheep of the house of Israel. They're enduring the elements, the 100-degree weathers, the freezing below colds, and everything that's trying to hinder the work of the Most High. Shalom, shalom. I want to give another strong shalom to all the mighty Akwath, the sisters. They're at home, but they're reverencing their husbands, and the unmarried sisters as well. They're being teachers of good things, tender, delicate, and on fire before the Most High God. Last but not least, I want to give another strong shalom to all the mighty children and teenagers in this truth as well. They're doing all they can to make their calling and election sure in the last days. And by the topic of this cold cut is titled, right, how to keep the feast of Simon, right? Simon Maccabees plus more. Right? How to keep the feast of Simon, Simon Maccabees, information about him, what his life was about, what type of man he was, why do we keep the feast of Simon, feast days in general, plus more history and information so we could understand better who this man was and what purpose did he have while he walked the earth. Now, with that being said, if you do not know, right, for Watchmen for Israel, we keep in the day of Simon today at sundown, right, May 11th, as soon as the sun goes down. Now, different congregations, whether you're in HOY, you might be in Sakari, you might be in a different IUIC, you have different dates set up. As long as you keeping it, but whatever respective congregation that you follow, all praises to the Most High. But Watchmen for Israel, we keeping the feast of Simon Maccabeus today at sundown. All right, for the brothers and sisters that didn't know. Now, with that being said, let me pull this quick precept through the Spirit. Let's go to Sirach, the classic. Right, let's go to the book of Sirach. Chapter 33, right? Let's go to Sirach chapter 33 and verse number 7. It says, why doth one day excel another, when as all the light of every day in the year is of the sun? By the knowledge of the Lord they were distinguished, and he altered season and feast, right? Because somebody might suppose a question, well, hold on, the sun is out every single day. What makes this day better than this day, right? Because the Most High, he has ordained certain feasts, right, through the Spirit and high holy days, and for other days to be better than other days. For example, in this world, you have Martin Luther King Jr. Day, right? You have Christopher Columbus Day, you have Mother's Day, Father's Day, you even have a Grandparents' Day. But in the Bible, you have feast days and biblical high holy days, as they're called, that God has ordained, not man, right? So it says, verse 8, by the knowledge of the Lord they were distinguished, and he altered seasons and feasts. And this is a part of our heritage as the Israelites. It's just not having a beard on your face or wearing fringes all the time. As brothers say, we have a landmass, we have our own language, we have customs, we have high holy days that we have to keep. It's all a part of serving the Most High God. It says, verse 9, some of them have he made high days and hallowed them, and some of them have he made ordinary days. So according to God, it's ordinary days. Then you have the high holy days, chiefly mentioned of in Leviticus chapter 23. Now, let's read Leviticus chapter 23 real fast, because I want to make a point. right? Let's go to the book of Leviticus, chapter 23. This Leviticus chapter 23 and verse number 2. It says, "Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, concerning the feast of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my feasts." Now, the Lord has proclaimed to us to have holy convocations, meaning set apart gatherings that we're all supposed to come together on. And you have feast days mentioned of in Leviticus chapter 23. Now, the point I wanted to make, not all feast days in the Bible is mentioned in Leviticus chapter 23. Because you have certain people, they say, well, hold on. The day of Simon, that's not mentioned in Leviticus chapter 23, right? Purim, the Feast of Dedication, destruction of Nicanor. These feast days aren't mentioned in Leviticus chapter 23. So you know what? I don't have to keep it, right? Or it's not law. Well, you have feast days outside, or days of gladness outside of Leviticus chapter 23. What you have to do, you have to link these things up, and you have to be able to search the scriptures to see whether these things are so, right? Now, dealing with the day of Simon, because you might say, well, who is Simon? Who is Simon Maccabees? Why do we keep this day? What's so special about him that he has his own day? Well, let's go to the book of Deuteronomy. Let's go to the classic. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 32. Right? Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse number 7. It reads, "Remember the days of old." Now that's a commandment. The Lord said you have to remember the days of old. What are the days of old? The years in time past, the biblical years, the ancient world, right? The older days. It says, consider the years of many generations. So you have to consider these different generations throughout the Bible. Man, I wonder what it was like. It was this one brother, he said, man, I wonder what it was like during the time of King Solomon, right? I wonder what it's like during the time of the book of Judges, during the time of the Garden of Eden. These are all the generations of old, the generations before us. It says, ask thy father, and he will shew thee, thy elders, and they will tell thee. So in the ancient world, if we wanted to inquire about something that happened in past generations, we would ask our fathers or our fathers' fathers, and they would kind of break down the story to us. Well, it was this one time, it was this man, but it's a man by the name of Judas Maccabees. He was valiant in wars. Then he started recounting everything, but it was off the top of the head. Now, guess what? Majority of our fathers is not in our lives. Some of us don't. We have all fathers and grandfathers, but some of them are, we don't know who they are. We never seen them before due to the curses. Nevertheless, we had a Bible. Everything is recorded and documented. So what do you have to do? You have to search the scriptures, right? The Lord, Yahushua said that in John chapter 5 and 39. You have to search the scriptures, right? What are the scriptures that is talking about? Chiefly the Old Testament, right? Now within that, it's accounts. Again, we just now coming into the truth. We're just now finding out about the Apocrypha, the hidden books, right? We didn't know, prior to us coming to the truth, we didn't know about the Apocrypha. We probably knew the main stories, Noah, Adam and Eve. We didn't know who Judas Maccabees was. We didn't know who Simon were. We didn't know who Sirach was. But we have to search these things and find out the days of old and the ancient generations of our forefathers. Let's go to Psalms chapter 77. Right, let's go to the book of Psalms chapter 77 and verse number 5. Right? Psalm 77 and verse number 5. It says, I have considered the days of old, the years of ancient times. And you have to ask yourself that. Do you consider the days of old? Do you care about what happened in the ancient world? The mighty acts of our forefathers? how they conducted themselves, right? How skilled and talented they were? Or are you focused on this generation? Hey, this generation, it's an evil. The Lord said this is an evil generation, man. You got kids outside smoking weed, 14, 15, 13 years old, women with no clothes on, people blasting music. Everybody's filled with lust and pride and money and covetousness. These times, we don't want to consider these times. You have certain brothers in the truth, hey, they meditate on these times. So, hey, man, 2023, hey, man, this got to be one of the best days on earth, right? Hey, you remember 2015, man? That's what Jake said. Do you remember 2015 when this so-and-so came out? Hey, we don't care. We don't care about these times, man. We want to hear about the ancient times, right? The days of old, during the time of Yahushua, during the time of Esther, right? During the time of Daniel, right? We want to hear about the things during the time of the Garden of Eden, the secrets, man. During the time of the Exodus. We don't want to hear about what's going on in the 2020s, right? Oh, man, 2010 had the best class of music, man. R&B music. And we don't care about that. We want to see how the music sounds in the ancient world. That's what I want to hear. I want to talk about. I want to know how the music, the melodies sounded during the time of King David, right? How fresh the land was, the earth was, the fruits. So I'm going to read that again. This Psalm 77:5. I have considered the days of old, the years of ancient times. I call to remembrance my song in the night. I commune with my own heart, and my spirit made diligent search. And you have to have the spirit of searching out matters, especially when it comes to your history, man. Right? This is your history book. The Bible is a history book about you, about your ancestors, about your forefathers. How many mighty kings there were, mighty princes, right? Beautiful princesses, daughters of Zion, royalty, right? Godliness, holiness. We want to be able to search these things out, and we have to be more like our forefathers. We have to be more like the men in the ancient world. Because we look at the men now. Look at the people in the world now. Everything is corrupt. Everything is full of evil and sin, to the point where you can't even go outside now without seeing mischief and wickedness, right? So let's go to the book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 2. Let's get into it, right? Let's get in 1 Maccabees, chapter 2, and verse number 1, right? 1 Maccabees chapter 2 and verse number 1. It reads, in those days arose Maccabeus, the son of John, the son of Simeon, a priest of the sons of Jerah from Jerusalem, and dwelt in Modin. So you had this man by the name of Maccabeus. Now Maccabeus, he was a Levite. He was a priest, right? His father was a priest. Now, when you look on a Maccabean, you could just type in a Maccabean family tree. You're going to have Judas, you're going to have Maccabeus, which will be the fathers and all of his sons after him. Again, those men, during this time, you had Antiochus Epiphanes, right, coming in, Alexander the Great, and the Diadochi. Alexander the Great is dead around this time. Nevertheless, you have something called the Diadochi, where you had his generals after him. You read about Seleucid, or Seleucid dynasty in the scriptures, or the Seleucid Empire, right? You had Ptolemy, you had Maccabeus, and you had Seleucus, right? If I didn't say that already. Nevertheless, you had something called the Diadochi, where Alexander was split up, or Shalaki, you had Cassander, right? Where Alexander, he split up his kingdom, or was divided into 4. Now, during this time, again, you had something called the abomination of desolation set up. So where the Greeks, they literally besieged the temple, man. Right? They besieged everything. They profaned the altars. They destroyed these different things. And the abomination of desolation, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, was fulfilled the first time. Now, during this time, you had men that were Israelites, that were Levites, that didn't conform to the ways of the Greeks. These men, they wanted to still keep the commandments. They were set apart. They didn't want to get down with the government, right? These men, they wasn't selling out. So again, you read about Maccabeus. If you pull up, or you just type in Maccabean family tree, you have Maccabeus and his sons after him. It's gonna tell you that, right? This first Maccabees chapter 2 and verse number 2. And he had 5 sons. Jonathan, called Cadus, Simon, called Thassi, Judas, who is called Maccabeus, Eleazar, called Aharon, and Jonathan, whose surname was Aphas. And when he saw that the blasphemies that were committed in Judah and in Jerusalem, he said, "Woe is me! Wherefore was I born to see this misery of my people and the holy city, and to dwell there when it was delivered into the hand of the enemy, and the sanctuary into the hand of strangers." So again, this is going into Maccabeus and his 5 sons. We talk a lot about Judas Maccabees and his valiant acts, right? Some might even talk about Jonathan, right? His other sons not really mentioned in the scriptures. Nevertheless, you do read about a man named Simon, and that's what the whole day of Simon revolves around, is this man, the things that he did, and his acts and his accounts. And you chiefly read about that in 1 Maccabees chapter 13. So anytime it's the day of Simon approaching in the future, you have to go straight. You shouldn't be going to the book of Genesis trying to find out about Simon, right? You read in Genesis, who is this Simon? Well, Simon, he's not in the book of Genesis, man, right? He's not in the Torah, right? He's not in the book of Isaiah. You read about him in the book of 1st and 2nd Maccabees and the Apocrypha, chiefly 1 Maccabees chapter 13, right? So let's go to that. Let's go to 1 Maccabees chapter 13, right? So we got a little bit of background information showing you that this man, Simon, he's the son of Maccabeus, right? Let's go to 1 Maccabees chapter 13. It's 1 Maccabees chapter 13 and verse number 1. It says, "Now when Simon heard that Tryphon had gathered together a great host to invade the land of Judea and destroy it, and saw that the people was in great trembling of fear, he went up to Jerusalem and gathered the people together." Now this Tryphon that is talked about, you had a man by the name of Diotas Tryphon, which was a king at this time out of the Seleucid Empire. Now again, out of the Seleucid Empire, it had many kings, many men that ruled, many generals, right? Such as Nicanor, right? You had Georgius. These different men, they all came out of the Seleucid Empire. That's more history that you could go into. Nevertheless, out of all of these campaigns that these men tried to invade Jerusalem, right? You had Judas Maccabees, which was standing up for battle and war first. Then after Judas died, you had Jonathan. So right now, Jonathan, he's dead during this time, right? And Simon, he's the only brother left, or he's the only one left that could lead the people, right? Let's go to that in the book of, let me see, 1 Maccabees chapter 9. right? This verse Maccabees chapter 9 and verse number 14. It reads, now when Judas perceived that Maccabeus, the strength of his army, were on the right side, he took with them all the hardy men, who discomfited the right wing and pursued them into the Mount Azotus. And when they of the left wing saw that they of the right wing were discomfited, they followed upon Judas and those that were with him hard at the heels from behind, where so much that there was a sore battle, and so much as many were slain on both parts. Judas also was killed, and the remnant fell. So Judas, the brother, which was the captain, because he was mighty in wars, he ended up dying in battle. So by default, who has to step up? Read on. Then Jonathan and Simon took Judas their brother and buried him in the sepulchre of their fathers in Moldon. Moreover, they bewailed him, and all Israel made great lamentation for him and mourned many days. Right? Now let me jump down to verse number 31. Right? This first Maccabees chapter 9 and verse number 31. I'm going to start at verse 28. It says, for this cause all Judas' friends came together and said unto Jonathan, since thy brother Judas died, we have no man like him to go forth against our enemies and Maccabees, and against them of our nation that are adversaries to us. Now therefore we have chosen thee this day to be our prince and captain in his stead, that thou mayest fight our battles. Upon this Jonathan took the governance upon him at that time and rose up instead of his brother Judas. See that? So after Judas died, who rose up next in his stead? It was Jonathan. He had to take over, right? He had to be the next person to lead the nation. Why? Because Judas, he died in war. It happens. Men get slain in war. Anything can happen in war, right? Yeah, whatever. Your men could be slain. You could be outnumbered. Your back could be against the wall. You might have to regroup. You might have to flee, then come back with another game plan. These things are all a part of guerrilla warfare. Nevertheless, first you had Judas. He died in war. Now let's go to First Maccabees, right? Chapter, let me see what I want. Right. First Maccabees, bear with me. This is the book of First Maccabees, chapter 12, and verse number 48. First Maccabees 12 and 48. Now as soon as Jonathan entered into Ptolemais, and they of Ptolemais shut the gates, and took him and all them that came with him, and slew with the sword. Then sent Typhon and hosts of footmen and horsemen into Galilee and into the great plain, to destroy all Jonathan's company. Talking about the heathen. But when they knew that Jonathan and they that were with him were taken and slain, they encouraged one another and went close together, prepared to fight. They therefore that followed upon them, perceiving they were already ready to fight for their lives, turned back again. Whereupon they all came into the land of Judea peaceably, and there they bewailed Jonathan and them that were with him, and they were so afraid, wherefore all Israel made great lamentation. Then all the heathen that were round about them sought to destroy them, for they said they have no captain, nor any to help them. Now therefore let us make war upon them, and take away the memorial from amongst men. And that was the mindset of the heathen. So after Judas Maccabees, after he died, guess what? Jonathan, he got killed. And there was nobody to reign up instead. So now the heathen, they're in their mind, they're convinced, oh yeah, the Israelites, they don't have any captain. Now it's the time to cut them off from being a nation. This is the mindset of the heathen. So when we read in the first Maccabees chapter 13, you want to get a backstory before you just hop into it. Now we're not gonna read the whole first and second Maccabees to get a whole backstory, because we want to just be considerate for the lesson. Nevertheless, you get some time, you want to read that on your own. It's a beautiful one. A certain brothers say that's some of the best books in the Bible, first and second Maccabees, right? Nevertheless, you got to put yourself in Simon's shoes at this time. Imagine both of your brothers die in battle and there's nobody else to stand up. You're going to be pressured to stand in his place. You're going to be pressured to step up and to take on the roles that your brothers once had. Simon, he had to avenge himself on his enemies, man, for his two brothers. So when we read about Simon, you also have to imagine yourself being there. Not only that, you want to put yourself in this man's shoes. What would you do if both of your brothers, they die in war, and nobody else is able to lead the nation of Israel or be their captain during the time where these heathens, they're trying to take over the land of Judea and Hellenize all of the people? So Simon, he's forced, for lack of better terms, to stand up manfully, right? So let's read First Maccabees chapter 13 again. First Maccabees 13:1. Now when Simon heard that Tryphon had gathered together a great host to invade the land of Judea and destroy it, and saw that the people was in great trembling and fear, he went up to Jerusalem and gathered the people together and gave them exhortation, saying, Ye yourselves know what great things I and my brethren and my father's house have done for the laws and the sanctuary, right? The battles also and troubles which we have seen, by reason whereof all my brethren are slain for Israel's sake, and I am left alone. So this is Simon exhorting the people, because you got to think about it. When you already know how Israel is, man. Let's say Israel captains die. Next thing you know, they saying, oh man, we might as well turn over to the Greeks. We have no hope left. We're doomed, right? That's how the Israelites are. So Simon, he has to exhort these people, lest it be a big uproar. Because the Israelites, they too simple to get in their head that their true captain is the one in heaven, man. Their true captain, king of the army, he's in the third heaven. And that's Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. The Israelites, they too simple, they mind not right. So Simon, he has to exhort these men and get them back in the right spirit, lest it be a big uproar amongst the people. Right? So let's read on. Verse 4 again. By reason whereof all my brethren are slain for Israel's sake, and I am left alone. Now therefore be it far from me that I should spare my own life in any time of trouble, for I am no better than my brethren. Doubtless I will avenge my nation and the sanctuary and our wives and our children, for all the heathen are gathered to destroy us of very malice. Now as soon as the people heard these words, their spirit revived. So Simon, he had the ability to revive somebody's spirit. So we have to look at Simon, the things that he done in this life. We have to apply that to ours. We have to meditate. Oh, dang, Simon, man, the way he exhorted those people. Because you want to have a brother or a sister around you that corrupt. You might feel low through the spirit. You might not feel like, you might feel down. You might want to give up. Then somebody comes along and they revive your spirit with words. This is what Simon is doing to the people. Now let's get a little bit of background information on Simon Maccabeus. Let's go to First Maccabees, chapter 2. Right? Let's go to First Maccabees, chapter 2, and verse number 64. It says, Wherefore, you my sons, Be valiant and show yourselves men in the behalf of the law, for by it shall obtain glory. Now, this is what Maccabeus is telling his sons before he gives up the ghost. Nevertheless, he's telling them to be valiant. Reading on verse 65. And behold, I know that your brother Simon is a man of counsel. Give ear unto him always, he shall be a father unto you. As for Judas, Maccabeus, he have been mighty and strong, even from his youth up. Let him be your captain and fight the battle of the people. Take also unto you all those that observe the law, and avenge ye of the wrong of your people. So one of the characteristics that his father gave about Simon was that Simon, he was good in counsel. Any type of matters of counsel, right? Experience in counsel, advice. And the word counsel literally just means advice. That's the definition of the word counsel. So any type of advice that you need, and you would have to go to Simon. Simon, he was the man for it. Now, if you wanted to get anything about the wars, the battles, you wanted to learn how to fight in war, hey, go to Judas Maccabees. So it's telling you the different sons of Maccabeus, they had different attributes and things that played a key role in them benefiting the nation. What was Simon about? He was about counsel. He was a man of counsel. And as counsel, you need counsel in the city. If you're going to war, you need counsel. Let's go to that real fast. Let's go to Proverbs 24. All right, let's go to Proverbs chapter 24 and verse number 6. Right? Proverbs chapter 24 and verse number 6. And it reads, For by wise counsel thou shalt make thy war, and in the multitude of counselors there is safety. So when men would literally when they would go to war, you will first have to counsel first. You have to get advice. You can't just get up, somebody coming at you, oh yeah, we're going to take these men down right now. You can't just make war with anybody. You have to counsel on the matter first. Okay, is this the right? Maybe, you know what? During this time, they're more relaxed. So let's go at nighttime while they're sleeping and then destroy them. Right? That's something, that's counsel, that's advice on how to make war. Right? You shouldn't be making war and your men is drunk. Right? Let's say your men is having a party. Somebody had a baby, right? Everybody's rejoicing. Or somebody just got married. You don't want to have your men go to war and they just got married. That wouldn't be wise. That wouldn't be a wise counsel or wise decision. Right? Everybody, they feasting, they drinking, they being merry. And you just say, oh yeah, let's get up and let's go to war. No, brother, your whole army is going to get put to flight. So when you dealing with warfare, you have to make counsel. You have to see, okay, is this the right thing we should do at this time? Maybe we should have an ambush. Maybe we should, again, go while they're sleeping. Maybe we should. Esau, he made good counsel when he took down the Native Americans. When Esau, the so-called white man, took down the Native Americans, he just didn't come up with that in one day. Right? Guess what? He said, you know what? We're gonna be friends with these people first. We're gonna give them to show us how to make crops. Right? We're gonna be cool amongst them. Then we're gonna give them. We're gonna fight. We're gonna set upon them and kill them. But we're gonna give them diseases first. We're gonna give them blankets with smallpox. We're gonna kill them off like that. Then we're gonna make war with them. That's the mind of the so-called white man when he's fighting against the Native Americans. So how much more the ancient Israelites in the ancient world? We had good war. That's how we counseled before we went to war. So guess what? Simon, he was the man for that. Right? Let's get another precept on that. Let's go to the book of Proverbs chapter 20 and 18. Right? Let's go to Proverbs chapter 20. And you need counsel in your life. right? Let's go to Proverbs chapter 20 and 18. It reads, every purpose is established by counsel, and with good advice make war. See that? So if you was going to war, you have to get some good advice on how to make war first. Then you will be able to go to war. And again, you need counsel. As an Israelite, living in the last days, seeing how wicked this earth is, seeing what all these spirits, you need counsel, man. If it's a brother saying that he don't need counsel, well, guess what? That man, he's gonna get caught up. He's gonna get caught out there, right? Counsel is the whole reason why you're in this truth. Because again, the word counsel just means advice. The ultimate key tool on advice is none other than the Bible. The Holy Bible is this. Look at this. This is your counsel right here, right? Now, yeah, you could receive counsel from a man. You could ask your father, "Hey, Dad, should I do this? Is this a good situation? Is this profitable to do?" You can ask your mom, "Is this the best case scenario?" Right? But guess what? Your counsel is in this Bible. This is the advice. What is the advice? It's in the different books. You have Sirach. You have the book of, it's advice in the book of Job. It's advice in the Torah. It's advice on the New Testament. Read the Gospels. You're going to see all of that counsel in there. Yahweh Shai, he's telling you to do certain things. Guess what? Judge that you be not judged. So counsel is not always receiving it from a man. That's just 1/4 of counsel. Every day that you read the scriptures or you read this book, you're being counseled. And as an Israelite man or woman, you need counsel to survive. Without counsel, you're going to be caught out there. Right? Let's go to Proverbs chapter 12. Right? Proverbs chapter 12. And the more you read and obtain knowledge and wisdom, next thing you know, you'll be able to give counsel. Right? People will ask you, "Hey, what should I do? What should I do right here in this situation?" Guess where? You better go straight to the Bible. You have certain men, right? We're going to get to it later on. But certain men, somebody asks you for counsel, you say something out your own belly, man. If somebody asks you in a certain situation, you should go straight to the ultimate counselor, which is Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai, through the precepts, through the scriptures. Nevertheless, let me bring this out. This Proverbs chapter 12 and 15. Right, this Proverbs chapter 12 and 15. It reads, "The way of a fool is right in his own eyes." So a fool, he's going to think he's right in his own eyes. Whatever he's thinking in his head, his mind, he's going to be right 100% of the time. A fool doesn't need counsel. What do a fool need advice for? He's going to reject it. He's going to, at the end of the day, a fool, he's going to do what he wants to do. Right? So it says, the way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but he that hearkeneth unto counsel is wise. So you don't want to be that fool that's right in his own eyes. You want to be that brother or that sister, you're hearkening unto counsel. Right? Whether it's a godly man, right? Whether you accessing it by a video, whether you ask somebody, whether you read, you're gonna start to be, guess what? You're gonna start to be wise, man. Because all the advice is from the scriptures. So when you're in a situation with temptation, you're getting that advice from the scriptures, how to deal with that situation. Whether it's financially, you're getting it from the Bible, how to deal with that situation. Whether a loved one might die, you're getting that advice from the Bible. Now you know how to deal with that situation. So you need counsel, man. And you want to take heed to counsel. Because again, if you don't, you're going to be doing whatever you want to do. Not going to be, if you're not listening, if you can't listen to a man, you can't listen to the Most High. Right? You got a lot of brothers, "Hey, I'm only listening to the Lord, man." Right? I'm not listening to man. Well, brother, the Most High speaks through men. The Lord is not going to come down to you face to face and tell you what you should do. He speaks through men. So you can receive counsel from anybody. Whether that's Moses, he received counsel from a heathen. Let's go to that in Exodus, right? Let's go to that in the book of Exodus, chapter 18, right? This is the book of Exodus, chapter 18, and verse number 13. It reads, "And it came to pass on the morrow that Moses sat to judge the people, and the people stood by Moses from the morning until the evening." So Moses was set up as a judge. Now, Moses, right now, during this time, he was the only one hearing those matters. Imagine, you have millions of Israelites around you, and you're the only one judging matters. This person said, "Hey, my wife committed adultery." Then this person said, "My children being disobedient." Then this person come along and say, "Well, I saw this man worshiping gods, other gods, idols." Then somebody coming to you saying, "Hey, this brother said he want to go back to Egypt." It would be a lot of if things was out of order, right? So when Moses, when he was judging the people, and the people stood by him from morning until the evening, meaning all day, non-stop, Moses, he's hearing these different matters. It reads, verse 14, "And when Moses' father-in-law saw that he did to the people, he said, What is this thing that thou doest to the people? Why sittest thou alone, thyself alone, and all the people stand by thee from morning unto evening?" Now, who is Moses? Moses' father-in-law is none other than Jethro, the priest of Midian. That's Exodus chapter 18 and verse 1. Let me read that real fast. "When Jethro, the priest of Midian, Moses' father-in-law, heard of all that God had done for Moses and for Israel his people, and that the Lord had brought Israel out of Egypt." So Jethro, he was a priest of Midian, because Moses, he married a wife, right? And that wife, her father was Jethro, right? So that would by default make Jethro Moses' father-in-law, right? You had Zipporah. Nevertheless, let's jump down to verse 15. "And Moses said unto his father-in-law, Because the people come unto me to inquire of God. When they have a matter, they come unto me, and I judge between the one and another. And I do make them know the statutes of God and his laws. And Moses' father-in-law said unto him, The thing that thou doest is not good." So a heathen is telling Moses, "Hey, I understand what you're trying to do, but it's not good." Now, this is advice that a heathen is giving. A lot of brothers, they think, "Well, man, that's Esau. I don't have to listen to him." If the so-called white man says you should get an oil change every 3 months, or else your car could be damaged and it could damage your transmission, you got a lot of brothers say, "Well, that's the so-called white man. I'm going to get an oil change when I need one." Next thing you know, 6 months go by, and the brother's driving and his transmission all jammed up, man. Guess what? Now his damn car explode or something happens. All because he didn't want to take that advice. He didn't want to take that counsel, right? So just because a heathen is telling, now you want to discern the counsel. If Esau tells you to do wickedness or God knows what, you want to discern that between the laws, statutes, and commandments, right? Don't just say, "You know what, that's an Edomite. He don't know what's going on." No, because maybe you need to listen to something that he's saying, because the Most High could speak through anybody, right? So if the Lord could tell a heathen, guess what? Not a heathen tell you, hey, make sure you take off work. It's the Sabbath day. You know you're not supposed to be at work, but your boss should say, "Hey, maybe you should take off work," right? Now you can say, "You know what? I need this money." What is he talking about? Whole time the Lord is speaking through that man, because it's the Sabbath day and you're not supposed to be working. Now what are you going to do? Are you going to take heed to that advice? Maybe you should take off work. Maybe you know you should, because it's the Sabbath day. Or are you going to say, "You know what? That's Esau. He doesn't know who he's talking about." So Moses, in this situation, he could have said, "You know what? This is a heathen. I don't have to listen to this man." But let's see what Jethro said to him. It reads, verse 18, Thou wilt surely wear away both thou and this people that is with thee. For this thing is too heavy for thee, for thou art not able to perform it thyself alone. Hearken now unto my voice. I will give thee counsel, and God shall be with thee. Be thou for the people to God ward, that thou mayest bring the causes unto God. And thou shalt teach them ordinances and laws, and thou shalt shew them the way wherein they must walk, and the work that they must do. Moreover, thou shalt provide out of all the people able men, such as fear God, men of truth, hating covetousness, and place such of them to be rulers over thousands, and rulers over hundreds, rulers of fifties, and rulers of tens. And let them judge the people at all seasons. And it shall be that every great matter they shall bring unto thee, but every small matter they shall judge. So shall it be easier for thyself, and they shall bear the burden with thee. So what Jethro told Moses is, you should take out men to judge the small matters, and the matters that's too great that they can't handle, the great matters, bring it to you. So you're not just judging every single matter by yourself, and you wearing yourself out, right? Renewing, if thou shalt do this thing, God command thee so, then thou shalt be able to endure. And all this people shall also go to their place in peace. So Moses hearkened to the voice of his father-in-law and did all that he had said. Now again, Moses could have said, you know what, this is a heathen. I'm not listening to this dude. But know what? Guess what? He despised not counsel that was profitable for him. That's in the book of Tobit. Right? Let's go to that. Let's go to the book of Tobit. Right? It's the book of Tobit, chapter 4. And verse number 18. This is the book of Tobit, chapter 4 and 18. It reads, ask counsel of all that are wise, and despise not any counsel that is profitable. So any counsel that's profitable to you, you don't want to despise that, man. If somebody's telling you to go do this way, but you want to go the other way, you're despising counsel that's profitable for you. And you don't want to ask, you want to ask counsel of people that's wise. Don't be asking Jake in the world, hey man, my wife, you saying rib, he doesn't know who a rib, what a rib is. You saying, yeah, my rib, man, she acting up, man. She staying out late, right? What should I do? Don't be asking Jake, what should you do? And he's in the world, man, or he's wicked. Because guess what he's going to tell you? He's going to tell you some counsel that's probably 9 times, maybe 10 times out of 10, that counsel is going to be off, right? He's going to tell you to maybe leave her, go get either leave her, kick her out, or go get another woman. That's what he's going to tell you, right? Or go do some lewdness. But you want to ask counsel of somebody that's wise. Maybe it's a brother in the truth that you know. He's more built up. You can ask him, hey man, what should I do in this situation? And if he's a man of this is how you can tell if somebody's a man of counsel. If you ask them something and they going straight to the Bible. Well, he said, okay, well, let me go to this precept first. Then he bringing out this precept. Then he's saying, well, hey, Job, he did this in this situation. Maybe you should do it like that Job did it, right? Hey, that's the type of man you want to ask counsel from. Wise men, but chiefly you don't want to despise counsel that's profitable. Now, on a deeper level, what's counsel that's profitable for you? Again, this Bible. So anytime you do anything that's contrary to these words, because this is advice, you have wisdom in here. Now you have a whole book of Proverbs. You have something called the wisdom of Sirach on things that you should do. Now it might not be a law or a commandment, but these things you should do. Why? Because it's profitable for you and your life and your future going forth in this truth. So every time you do something contrary to what the Bible says, you're despising counsel that's profitable. and you're ultimately doing your own thing. That's why counsel is, again, it's deeper than just you be able to counsel people at all times. Your first counselor, chiefly, is Yahweh by Shema Mashiach Yahushua. Right? Let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 6. Let's get a couple more precepts on counsel. Because again, it says Simon, he was a man of counsel. Right? Let's go to Sirach, chapter 6, and verse number 6. It reads, be in peace with many, nevertheless, have but one counselor of 1,000. So it's cool. It's okay to be cool with a lot of people. You might be cool with this brother, this sister, right? This sister. But when it's all said and done, you want to have one counselor of 1,000. You don't want to be getting counsel from everybody and anybody. And on a deeper level, that counselor amongst 1,000 is the Most High, right? And Yahushua. Nevertheless, you might have a counselor on a physical level, right? Somebody that you could go to that has good advice that you could inquire from in any situation you is. You don't want to be just telling everybody your business. Yeah, you know what? My kid, he slapped me in the face yesterday because I said you got to keep the Sabbath day. Hey, what should I do? And you telling that to a random brother on the street, right? Or somebody that you just, hey, Eve do that all the time. Somebody they just meet for a week. Next you know, they telling all of their business. Hey, the Lord said you want to have one counselor amongst 1,000. And not all counsel is good for you. Have good counselors and you have wicked counselors. You have men that counsel wicked things, like Ahithophel. He counseled Absalom to sleep with David's concubines, man. Right? Hey, that's evil. So let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 37. Right? Let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 37. And if you have the 1611 KJV, when you read Sirach 37 and 1, when you read the description, it says how to know friends and counselors, the discretion of and wisdom of a godly man blessed him. So this is how you know if somebody's a good counselor, if somebody's a bad counselor. And we know Simon Maccabees, we know that he was a good counselor. Again, read 1 Maccabees chapter 13. Read what he was saying. Read about the things that he was doing. And you want to also beware of false counselors. Men, they say anything, man. You never know. Anybody can have your worst interest, right? We heard stories. We don't want to just say all the stories, but you have, it's sad to say it, right? But you have men in Israel, they counsel wicked things, right? It's real life situations. People have real life matters. You have ungodly men in the nation of Israel. They saying something that's totally contrary to the law. Hey, that's evil, man. Right? You call up this person, hey, man. Hey, what should I do? Right? I want to donate all of I want to give alms. I want to give charity. Right? I don't want to donate to the so-called white man. Right? What should I give alms? What is alms? Then you have the brother saying, hey, well, I'm gonna show you. Just write down this Zelle. Write down my Zelle. And all of your alms that you want to give, just give it to me. Right? This is my Zelle. Or this is my Cash App. And he taking all of the money, man. And saying, well, yeah, this is really how you give alms. You just send it. If anytime you want to give alms, just send it to my Zelle. Hey, that's off, man. Right? Hey, you want to give, hey, it's many types of alms in charity. What are you giving to the homeless? Spiritual alms, giving out wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Right? Helping a brother on needs. But unfortunately, you have wicked counselors. Nevertheless, let's go to Sirach chapter 37 and verse number 7. Sirach 37:7. It reads, every counselor extolleth counsel, but there is some that counseleth for himself. So you have certain men, they're gonna give you counsel, but it's really for them to get something out of you, but they not gonna say it. So let's say if a brother really needs some advice on a matter, your only reason why you're gonna counsel him is to get a gain out of him for yourself, for your own benefits. Whether 2 months from now you say, hey brother, remember that time I gave you counsel? Yeah, so I need you to do this for me. Give me a flat screen TV. Hey, brother might look at you and say, well, hold on. What you mean give you a flat screen TV? He say, yeah, remember that time I gave you counsel? I don't think you remember. It was a while ago, right? But I remember. Hey, I need a flat screen TV. Think you can help me since I gave you that counsel? Hey, that's off, man. You're supposed to give counsel. You're supposed to give advice for the free. So certain men, it says, and there is some that counsel for himself. Reading on verse 8, beware of a counselor, and know before what need he hath, for he will counsel for himself, lest he cast a lot upon thee. Verse 9, and say unto thee, thy way is good, and afterward he standeth on the other side to see what shall he befall thee. Right? And a good example of that, read the book, right, of 2 Samuel chapter 15. Right? 2 Samuel chapter 14, well, Absalom, he was just spewing out wicked counsel. And certain people, they're going to tell you to do certain things, like Eve do it all the time. They make propaganda of it in the movies. So if it's a girl, she's having relationship problems, Eve is going to call her friend that's single, that's not married, that's the one that says men ain't nothing. She's going to call her and say, girl, what should I do in this situation? I know he's a good man deep down inside, but he did da-da-da-da-da. And the other girl, she on the phone, well, girl, you should leave him alone. X, Y, and Z. Then 2 weeks later, that same girl that said you should leave him alone, she's with them 2 weeks later. So they give you counsel, and they want to see what really going to befall you. Reading on. It reads, verse 10, consult not with one that suspected thee, and hide thy counsel from such as envy thee. So you don't want to ask counsel of somebody that's jealous of you, because they might give you some counsel just to see your downfall. So when you read Sirach, these different books, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, the scriptures touch on everything, right? Nevertheless, reading on verse 11, neither consult with a woman touching her of whom she is jealous, neither with a coward in matters of war. So don't, if you see a coward, a man that he say he's down, but when stuff hits the fan, he always run. Don't ask that brother, hey, what should we do in this battle? That brother, he's a coward, man. He's gonna run, right? Instead of the captain saying, you know what, we're gonna take them at this angle. The brother that's a coward, he gonna say, you know what, we should just retreat, right? Let's just retreat, man. We got wives at home, we got kids. Don't y'all want to see y'all kids? I mean, we know we can't go to battle. Just, man, hey, the Most High, he's gonna build up the sanctuary again, right? Don't worry about the temple. We got kids. Hey, don't go to that man for counsel in war. It says, nor with a merchant concerning exchange, nor with a buyer of selling, nor with an envious man of thankfulness, nor with an unmerciful man touching kindness, nor with a slothful for any work, nor with an hireling for a year of finishing work. See that? Nor with an idle servant of much business. Hearken not unto these in any matter of counsel. So the Most High is telling you, guess what? Don't go to these men concerning counsel, right? You have to have, like the sister said, you need active, so you need discernment. You want to have discernment, man. Nevertheless, let's get back to it in 1 Maccabees. So it said again that Simon He was a man of counsel. Let's go to 1 Maccabees chapter 13. This 1 Maccabees chapter 13 and verse number 8. It reads, "And they answered with a loud voice, saying, Thou shalt be our leader instead of Judas and Jonathan thy brother. Fight thou our battles, and whatsoever thou commandest us, that we will do." So when he had gathered together all the men of war, and had made haste to finish the walls of Jerusalem, and fortified it round about, he also sent Jonathan, the son of Absalom, with a great power to Joppa, who casting out them that were therein, remained there in it. So Tryphon removed from Ptolemais with a great power to invade the land of Judah, and Jonathan was with him in war. But Simon pitched his tent at Adea over against the plain. So the Israelites, they said, Simon's going to be our captain. Judas, Jonathan is there. You're going to lead us to the battle. And from thence, we're not going to read the whole 1 Maccabees chapter 13. Nevertheless, we're going to touch on the key points, ultimately getting into why we keep the day of Simon. So let's jump down and 1 Maccabees chapter 13 and verse number see what I want to start at. Let's go to 1 Maccabees chapter 13 and verse number 40. "And look, who are meet among you to be in our court, let them be enthroned, and let us there be peace between us." Right? "And let there be peace between us. Thus the yoke of the heathen was taken away from Israel in 170th year." Right? "Then the people of Israel before began to write in their instruments and contracts in the first year of Simon the high priest, the governor and leader of the Jews." So now it's not only was Simon a governor and a leader, he was also the high priest, showing you that this man was an expert in the law. He knew the judgments, he feared God greatly, and he was a man of counsel. In those days, Simon camped against Gaza and besieged it round about. He made also an engine of war and set it by the city, and battered a certain tower and took it. Right? "And they that were with engine leaped into the city, whereupon there was a great uproar in the city, and so much as the people of the city rent their clothes and climbed upon the walls with their wives and their children, and cried with a loud voice, beseeching Simon to grant them peace. And they said, Deal not with us according to our wickedness, but according to thy mercy." And that just shows you the manly might of Simon. That people, when they see you, they're screaming and begging for mercy, that you don't deal with them wickedly. Now this is what Simon did, verse 47. "So Simon was appeased towards them, and fought no more against them, but put them out of the city, and cleansed the houses wherein the idols were, and so entered into it with songs and thanksgiving. Yet he put all uncleanness out of it, and placed such men there as would keep the law, and made it stronger than it was before, and built therein a dwelling place for himself. They also of the tower in Jerusalem were kept so straight, and they could not," it says, "and they could neither come forth, nor go into the country, nor buy, nor sell. Wherefore they were in great distress for want of victuals, and a great number of them perished through famine." So during all of this process, Simon, he's cleaning the altar. He's putting out the men that serve idols, that's into idolatry. He's cleaning, getting the uncleanness out. He's doing the work of the Most High. Verse 50, "Then cried they to Simon, beseeching him to be at one with them, which thing he granted them. And when he had put them out from thence, he cleansed the tower from pollutions, and entered into the 23rd day of the second month, in the 171 year, with thanksgiving and branches and palm trees, and with harps and cymbals, and with viols and hymns and songs, because there was destroyed a great enemy out of Israel. He ordained also that there should be kept every year with gladness. Moreover, the hill of the temple that was by the tower he made stronger than it was, and there he dwelt himself with his company. And when Simon saw that John his son was a valiant man, he made him captain of all the hosts that dwelt in Gaazara. Right? So verse 51 is the key. The whole reason why we keep the day of Simon, again, is pursuing the 1 Maccabees 13. Right? Simon, he was the only one left. He had to step up and avenge Israel of the enemies. He cleans the altars. Right? He put out all of the idols and the idolatrous men that was in there. Right? And they kept that day with gladness every single year. It says, again, verse 51, and they entered into it 23 day of the second month, in the 171 year, with thanksgiving. So on this day of Simon, which is today at sundown, you have to keep this day with thanksgiving, with mirth. If you were sad, if you was feeling down, you had a bad day at work, you wasn't really feeling in the spirit, you got to keep this day with gladness and branches of palm trees, and with harps and cymbals. Maybe play some music, have some frankincense and myrrh, have a nice meal prepped and cooked. It says why? Because there was destroyed a great enemy out of Israel. That's why we keep the day of Simon, man. It's a day commemorated to Simon Maccabees, how he destroyed the enemies out of Israel. He cleansed the altars, right? He led the people when his back was against the wall through counsel, wisdom, and understanding. So it's more to it when you read 1 Maccabees chapter 14, and more of his acts that Simon did and the type of manner of man he was. Nevertheless, again, it's a feast day. You want to chiefly prepare a meal, right? Let's go to Nehemiah 10:31. It is a feast day, so no buying or selling, right? But it's not a Sabbath, so you can work, all right? And you can cook. You just can't buy or sell, right? And if there's any questions pursuant to the day of Simon, right, we will answer them through the Spirit. Or anything about the feast day, how to keep it, anything that was missed or misunderstood, we'll take questions, right? But let me go to Nehemiah. Right? It's Nehemiah chapter 10. And verse number 31. And it reads, and if the people of the land bring ware or any victuals on the Sabbath day to sell, that we would not buy it of them on the Sabbath day or on the holy day, and that we will leave the 7th year and the accusation of every debt. So guess what? On the Sabbath and on the holy day, there's no buying or selling, pursuant to Nehemiah chapter 10 and verse number 31. Right? So again, all praise to the Most High, Lord willing. Right? If there's not any questions, we're going to wrap up. Giving all honor and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, Ba'ashema Mashiach Umarak Yahushua. Lord willing, this video was edifying. Continue to read, pray, fast, and study. Most importantly, beseech the Heavenly Father for His mercy. With that, I'm going to say Shalom.